This is Annalise,
This is Rob.
and we are your nerd best friends.
It's time to catch up on our nerd hobbies and answer the question, what are you doing?
Welcome to Nerd Best Friends, the podcast where we talk comics, D&D, pop culture, cosplay, basically all the stuff that makes you go, there's my people. If you're feeling it, do us a favor, follow, subscribe, and share this episode with a follow nerd. Help us grow the nerd herd. Now strap in, roll for initiative, and let's get nerdy. It's episode 95, Rob, and we're going to catch up on our nerdy hobbies. How are you doing?
I'm very excited to catch up with you on our nerdy hobbies, and I am absolutely fantastic. At time of recording, today is Sunday, February 22nd, the 36th anniversary of the Miracle on Ice, and yet here we are celebrating the Miracle on Ice 2! USA Hockey has beat Canada to win the gold medal.
And we got double gold, right?
Double
Go ahead,
gold,
I'm sorry.
female and male hockey teams. These jerks in Milan put the game at 5 a.m. for us here on the West Coast
time,
in
yep.
North America. I set my alarm 4:45 in the morning, rolled out of bed, made my coffee, and I'm so glad I did. I just had this feeling that this was gonna be the year, and it sure was. You know how big of a hockey nerd I am. I mean, I've been a hockey fan longer than we've been best friends, which
Very
is
true.
almost probably the second longest thing that I've had allegiance to. So absolutely incredible game. Defense wins championships. USA had to play incredible defense, especially like goalie out. Hellebuck was absolutely incredible. An overtime goal win. Just absolutely amazing. I have been flying high for hours now that we have and bawling my eyes out. Just absolutely bawling my eyes out after the game with all of the celebrations and all the great stories that we love the Olympics for. Just could not believe how cool it was to watch that game and to celebrate USA hockey victory. So here's a throwback to season 1.
Yes. It is still morning here on the West Coast, but Rob has been up for half a day already.
That's
And,
right.
Cracked open a
Cheers, everybody.
celebratory beer.
You better believe it. So that's where we're at today. I am pumped. I'm ready to go.
Well, congratulations,
How are you?
Team USA. I'm good. Did not get up early to watch, but I did see highlights upon waking up this morning, and super excited for both the men's and women's team. They were both very exciting gold medal matches. The women's wasn't against Canada, though, right? Oh, no, they were both against Canada, weren't they?
No, they were both against Canada.
Yeah.
They
USA
both
and
won.
Canada,
It was the
yeah.
best possible game it could be. I had to watch the women's one at work. I had to like sneak down to the basement to watch the game. And I was just as excited and screaming and yelling at that one too. Just absolutely awesome. I always love the Olympics, especially the Winter Olympics, because I'm such a hockey fan. And this was one of the years where they changed the rules, it seems like every time. But this year they were able to bring NHL players in. The NHL took like a month
was a big
break
deal.
in the middle of the
Yeah.
season so that they could send players. And oh my gosh, does it make a difference? Like every game, every shift, like they're all first liners. And they really care and want to win. It's not like, in the old days you'd be like, oh, the All-Star game's on, want to watch it? Like, no, that's a boring game because nobody plays hard. In the Olympics, they play hard and they're all elite world-class players. Some of the best hockey I've seen in the last 10 years. And USA won. I'm blown away.
Beautiful. Yeah, it was really interesting that they did that with the NHL because they had to do some pretty heavy contract negotiation with the teams and the players and their contracts because they're risking injury in these real terms, real consequences games. So that was real interesting
And there
to
were
watch
some
NHL
injuries.
go through. Yeah.
There were some injuries,
No, but
unfortunately. Sidney Crosby did not play the last few games of the tournament for Canada. He had an injury. They moved the captaincy to Connor McDavid, and he
wow.
lost. Suck it, Connor McDavid. And then Kevin Fiala, who is one of my beloved LA Kings players, a very offensively gifted player, shattered his leg, like immediate multiple surgeries, season over, just terrible. So that's always the risk. And it's really rough.
I haven't watched too much of the Winter Olympics. I'm more of a Summer Olympics person with like gymnastics and all the track and all that stuff, basketball, which really should be the Winter Olympics, but neither here nor there. Well, they can't, I guess, because they're in season right now.
Yeah, I mean,
starting
that's
their
the weird
seasons.
thing
Like,
about the
it's a
hockey
really funky thing.
tournament
Yeah.
is like they got to decide, are we putting
Right.
our regular season on this like
Right.
month hiatus so that we can do
Right.
this? And they don't always.
I will say one of the most interesting things I watched was a strategy speed skating on the races where there
Gosh.
was a woman from China who like just lives in 2030, and what she did was everyone kind of paces themselves and they pace
Yeah.
themselves and then they go hard at the end of the distance. She like pushed out ahead and skated so hard so fast that she found herself at the back of the pack but
Hmm.
one lap ahead of them, and then she
Right.
just coasted behind them. And so all the
Yep.
skaters behind her, in front of her, but behind her didn't compute that they were behind. So it's really funky watching the end of that race because they're going hard the last lap and she's off to the side celebrating that she's won the
Already
gold.
won. Yeah.
And then her China team partner who made that final then sprinted at the end to get the silver because the rest of them thought they had it made. It was the most insane kind of strategic thing I've ever seen in a distance race like that.
I
So
really
yeah,
like the speed skating, especially
yeah.
the short track speed
Yes.
skating. It's like watching a short track race at your local like
Yes.
speedway. Like they're
Yes.
bumping into each other, they're smacking each other, they're wiping out and hit the wall.
People flying into the wall. Yeah, it's all those
Yeah.
things. Man, Olympics. Good times.
And I also love, like, I just love the Winter Olympics. The biathlon is like such a weird sport where you're like cross country skiing and then you like pull a gun off your back and like pop, 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 and then you're cross country. Like, it's so cool. And then curling's never been more popular. Like,
so much controversy with curling and cheatery Canada. Both the men's and the women's team busted.
yes.
Busted.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Winter Olympics, good
are
times.
so fun. Oh my gosh. Love it.
Well, that's clearly what Rob's been doing, and maybe a little bit myself. But before we continue the rest of the episode, we have some nerd mail. And our nerd mail today comes from our favorite, most active nerd herd nerder, Ismail, who wrote to us after we replayed our guest appearance on the Geek Speak show. So hello to those folks at the Geek Speak show. Thanks again for having us on. They gave us permission to release the episode on our platform as well. And so a lot of our nerd herd folks got to hear it. And Ismail said that we both were great on the show and love that other folks like fans of Geek Speak are going to be exposed to Nerd Best Friends. So thanks for that, Ismail.
Yeah, I hope that's true. And if you are someone who is a Geek Speak listener and you've come on over to the Nerd Herd, welcome. We're so glad to have you.
Now, when we were on the show, we talked about going to the theater, and Rob, I think at some point you talked about Wicked and the annoyance that people had going to see Wicked, and how even though they strategically had sing-along show times, it didn't really matter. People were singing along in the episode. Ismail said, I've seen each of the Wicked movies twice in the theaters. I was bummed there wasn't a sing-along version the second time. And the movie he saw most in theaters was Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. He said he must have watched it a dozen times.
Interesting. Okay, this is why I love Listener Ish, because he's always on top of what's going on in like nerd and geek culture. Like, we could talk about whatever. A lot of times we'll talk about comic books and he's like, oh, I gotta step in here. But you can even talk about like musical theater and he's like, oh yeah, I was there day one. It's like he is in it. And so we love Listener Ish. We love getting listener mail. Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I mean, it was a real big deal at the time.
It was. Superhero movies weren't a real big deal at the time. In fact, they had mostly, like after Batman's success in the 80s, they were mostly flops.
And I will tell you, I really don't like that movie. Like, I find it hard to sit through because it's so like Disney Channel cartoonish, like mugging for the camera. But you can look at it and you can tell what they're trying to do is they're being very systematic and purposeful of like every shot needs to look like a comic book panel. This is going to be the bringing to life of a Spider-Man comic. And so it's very, very purposeful that every scene you could imagine as a comic book panel. And 30 years later or whatever it is, that doesn't work. It doesn't really hold up in my mind.
But I will say, Tobey Maguire is a great choice of Spider-Man, to play Spider-Man, especially at the time. I think he was a great choice, as was Andrew Garfield when they got there with the series, as is Tom Holland, who I will continue to say was born to play Spider-Man. He was born into existence onto this earth to play Spider-Man. It was well cast. That movie was well casted. It was a summer blockbuster. So I can see why someone back then went to see it 12 times, because it was the first real successful, like kids could watch it, superhero movie that we had seen in a really long time. I don't think I've seen any movie in the theaters 12
times. No,
at
I mean,
least
I
a dozen. No,
remember
I can't think of a single one.
in the theaters. No, I mean, I think 2 or 3 is probably the max for any movie that I've seen in the theaters. So, good on you. You must have really loved it. And you're right. It was so important at the time that we could see a real life Spider-Man that looked cool and was doing Spider-Man things. And then you mentioned the Andrew Garfield one. I think what really nailed that one was the way they did the web swinging. The web swinging in the Andrew
Mm.
Garfield movies are like make your stomach flip awesome scenes that that only the technology that had evolved at the time could do. Just so cool.
And they
12
transferred that to
times.
the video games, the
My
PlayStation video
gosh.
games at the time. Like Andrew, I think, still plays it a ton. The
Yeah,
one that
it's
came out during the
incredible.
Andrew Garfield's. Yeah. Yeah.
One of the most fun video games of all time, not just superheroes, Spider-Man. And it's because of what an amazing job and how fun it is just to whip through New York City, like photorealistic New York City throughout that entire experience. So cool.
Well, nerds, we love hearing your thoughts, your feedback. So send in them in your deep thoughts, nerd questions, and talk nerdy to me subjects you'd like us to cover by sliding into our DMs or send those topics in an email, podcast@nerdbestfriends.com. That being said, Rob, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you
Okay.
doing?
What am I
What are you
doing?
doing?
I love these episodes.
Yeah, it's a good time to like just catch up with your nerd best friend and just talk about the things that are happening right now.
Thank you for vamping as I just load up my notes here.
You close your
And
notes. Hey, well, I'll start instead of vamp.
okay, great.
We both picked 3 things that we're doing right now, and I think, as always, our list could be a lot longer, but we do try to keep this under an hour. In light of that, we both selected 3 things. Right now, what I am doing is I am nearly finished reading Nosferatu by Joe Hill. So I'm a slow reader, and I also don't have a lot of time to read, and I also have too many things that I'm reading at once. So I'm like multiple problems there because I'm actually reading this instead of audiobook, different version of reading, right? When I got the Kindle Black Friday deal on Amazon, I went and got the little small Kindle and I read most of the book and then I put it down and school restarted and then we got to winter break and I was busy and I just haven't had a chance to finish it. I'm like on the last handful of pages. And the other precipice to that was reading about the article about Stephen King pretty soon coming into retirement. So I guess I got to start reading something else. I might as well read something that
Absolutely.
was created by the person he created. So Joe Hill, Nosferatu. I'm also getting ready to watch the show now that I'm nearly done with the book. But my first nerd thing that I am doing right now is finishing Nosferatu on my Kindle.
All right, you got to tell me more about this because I am a huge Dracula fan. I just found out that my son, America's favorite teen nerd, Andrew, he is a theater kid, and every year there is like a final presentation that they have to do. And his final this year is that he is directing a abridged version, like a big 1-act of Dracula for his
Ooh.
for his
Okay.
final, and I couldn't be more thrilled. So I'm like, gosh, I love the full cast audiobook version that Audible has. It's just
Mhm.
absolutely riveting. Maria's reading it right now. I think I want to go back and read it again just because it's so good. And I know about Nosferatu being kind of a spin-off from Dracula that was controversial at the time 100 years ago or whenever it was because of it being derivative and there was like arguments about the rights and this and that. But when I'm looking at your notes, Nosferatu is spelled in like this weird, crazy, I don't know what, like triple X games initialized way. Like, what is up with that?
It's a license plate.
Snaps. Okay, because it's like all capital NOS,
Yes.
like NOS, and then number 4, A number 2. So I
Yes.
got to know more about this.
Yeah, so it is a vampire-esque story, but it's not Dracula. I don't want to spoil it in case you do read it or listen to it. I do recommend it. I think you would like it. It has the same, what I'll say is the same type of gore that Dracula does, including with like the little kids. But the main character, the main bad guy, well, yes, and I will say it's in the same gore format, I think, as the regular Dracula, where you get some things happen. But the main bad guy is this Mr. Manx, who is this old creepy dude, and he drives around this old Rolls Royce. It's hard to say out loud. Rolls Royce Wraith, which is a very rare model. So try saying that 5 times fast. And he drives this thing around, and the license plate is this Nosferatu license plate. And so it hints of him being a vampire, but a different kind of vampire, where he has this other world called Christmas Land, and he takes
Are we
little kids
talking
there.
Holiday Dungeons and Dragons Christmas Land?
No, we're talking much more sinister. In
No.
reality, bad things are happening to these kids, but in their existence,
No.
they're in this super happy Christmas land where nothing bad ever happens. And yeah, he's like an old dude when we meet him, and it kind of goes back and forth with his timelines with the main protagonist and her son. And I've really enjoyed it. It is, I mean, he is the spawn of Stephen King, and this book reads a lot of influence from his father, where you've got some super creepy, intense moments, and then you've got some like heroic moments. And I will say it's in the vampire realm, but it's not Dracula.
That is so cool. I love that it look me hitting my microphone. It is so cool that it is a license plate and it's like nitrous oxide for A2 and it's
Yes.
Nosferatu. Like that's
Yes.
incredible. What an awesome.
And also
element.
there's a nitrous oxide element to it. Like there's a lot of layers to the title of this book and the use of this wraith. And the main protagonist as a teenager has this bike that takes her other places, not mystical. It'll take her to another physical location. And you first learn about it because she's on a car ride on a trip with her mom and dad. And when they get home, they not a great marriage. So they're arguing about something like a brace, like a diamond bracelet or something that was left behind somewhere. So in her anger, she gets on her bike, and the bike takes her to the diner they stopped in on the way home, on the drive home. And she walks in, and the guy's like, "Oh, you came back for it." And he hands her the bracelet. And then she gets back on her bike, and it takes her back across this decrepit bridge home, where she's like, "Oh, here, I found it in the car." And then as she gets older, she's thinking these are delusions and they didn't really happen, but they're all connected to this Rolls Royce and this Mr. Manx. And Christmas Land is one of those otherworldly locations that also exists on Earth. Like it's really interesting without being too sci-fi. And not that sci-fi is bad, but the way I'm describing it could be kind of sci-fi. But I think you would enjoy it, actually. Or I'll watch the show and let you know if the show is any good.
Well, yeah, maybe I'll do that if it's
Yeah.
if it's not too crazy. Very cool. I think Joe Hill, obviously, like I know the success of Lock and Key on the comic
Yes.
book side was just absolutely incredible, and all of the things that spun out for them. So I know Joe Hill is like very quality, and he's not afraid to play in different spaces, which is also very
And he's now got 5 or 6 very popular novels, and this is just the first one I decided to read because of the Dracula angles. I'm probably going to read King Sorrow next, which is one of his newer ones. And he's also got Sleeping Butterflies that he co-wrote with his dad, Stephen King, which I haven't read yet either. So got some on my to-do list.
co-write. Okay, very cool. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So for me, I have also been reading, and I think I mentioned last year, I find myself doing these like reading projects. I sometimes wonder if maybe I'm OCD, but I like hyper focus on something, and I'm just such a completionist that I do it all. So I had mentioned last year that I was going back through all of the first edition Dungeons and Dragons novels that they published as kind of tie-ins to the adventures and stuff they were doing, and how interesting I found it that those novels based off those adventures back in the 80s also lined up with all of the 5th edition campaigns that they were coming out with. So many of the games that you and I played with our friends over the last 10 years were reimaginings of these settings and these different worlds and adventures from 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And there were novels from that time that they had done tie-ins in. So like I read the novel of White Plume Mountain, and I read the novel about the island of Cholt and Artist Kimber, and I read the novel about the hidden shrine of Tamawakan and all that kind of stuff. And I had a really good time with it. So this year I noticed that they had done the same thing very purposefully with 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons. Like they wrote novels that went right along with the 3rd edition. Like the characters in the novels are the characters you saw on the front of the player's handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide and stuff. Like they made a very purposeful marketing campaign of like, oh, this book's going to come out and this novel's going to come out, and we're going to like follow these characters and do the thing. And it's a series of 10. There were 10 novels over that time. I just finished up the 9th one and started the 10th. I've been burning through them. They are real easy to read, real safe, real just throw away. Like, I'm not going to say you got to go read this. It's very much like, hey, we're going to try to get that like 13-year-old boy who wants to play Dungeons and Dragons and know more about Dungeons and Dragons. This was for you, kid. Like, it's not anything world breaking or good. But what I have been doing though is just for fun while I'm listening to the book and painting miniatures, doing whatever I'm doing. I've been using again that website I talked about, Millinote, where you can make that
Yeah.
big, all those
Like your
different,
vision boards?
yeah, you're exactly right. Your
Yeah.
visual
Yeah.
boards, your goals. So I have been coming up with all of these, like, I've been looking up things and making images and putting things on there, almost like, well, it's much more organized, but you know, the, like the GIF or the meme with Charlie Day and he's looking at the Pepe Silva board with all the like
Yes.
newspaper articles
I
and the
love
thing.
that.
It's
Yes.
like that for these 10
Okay.
novels, just spread all over the place on this Milano board. I'm like, wait a minute, that guy was in book 1 and this guy was in book 2. And oh, I think that enemy did this in book 3, and like just kind of having fun with it while I'm going through these like very easy to read, very easy to listen to fun books. So that I had fun doing that, and I'm almost done. So I'll be moving on even this year already to doing the same thing with the 4th edition novels that came out, and we're like focused on 4th edition just for fun and kind of D&D history and being all in.
You're knocking out those goals, man.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
What's funny, I mentioned it in previous episodes, but now that Scream 7 has come out,
Right.
that's kind of that Charlie Day meme is how I felt with all my notes
Mhm.
of how they were all connected. And I even put together, I sealed my theory for Scream 7, and I think I'm going to open up on social media and read it to compare with what actually happened. But I'm going to wait a little bit because I don't like going out there. We talk about spoilers, not spoilers. This would actually be a spoiler if I start talking about the who the killer, who Ghostface is in Scream 7. I'd like to give people some time to see it before I open up my theory. But it's
So it's
really
actually
good.
super good and there's a twist and it's mysterious?
There's always a twist. There's always
Okay.
a twist. But I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna leave it at that. To not, again, it just came out last week, so I just want to give people a chance to go out and see it themselves. But yeah, when you're talking about that, that's what is going in my head. Like all these charts that I drew on my paper, like connecting who did what, just so I have the order of operations. I have to do that with Star Wars sometimes too. You notice? Do you have to think it through because like this happens in the middle of this, and before this happens, they do this, and Rebel is in this one, and then yeah, I find having to
Actually,
do
it's
that
very
kind of stuff a
funny
lot.
that you mentioned that because we will be talking about Star Wars later in this episode.
Okay, no spoilers on that. We'll go to thing 2. And thing 2 for me, this is something that I'm categorizing as the nerdy thing I'm doing right now because we're just at the point now there's too many subscription services. And back like 15 years ago when I cut cable for the first time, it was like a thing to have like a singular, here's where I can still watch live sports, here's my live thing. And now everybody has apps and there's mergers and this app to that app, and the end point for me came last month when I had to subscribe to Paramount Plus so I could rewatch all the Screams because I don't own them.
Right. Yeah.
I did buy the first 2 digitally on Apple. I was like, I don't want to spend. Ooh, nerd best friends. I don't want to spend to buy every single one of these. They're not all my favorite movies. It is my favorite franchise, but I'm just going to subscribe for $13 and watch Screams 3, 4, 5, and 6 without having to buy them. And just at that point, I looked at all these apps we have. We have way too many. We have subscribed to way too many. We don't watch them unless something cool comes up. So talked with my partner. We're even going to get rid of live TV and just
Okay.
either subscribe for a month where we want to watch stuff, or I'll subscribe to like an NFL package separately because now you can do that and just be able to watch football games because that's all I really kept. Honestly, sports is the only reason why I kept
Me
the
too.
live TV. So I'm looking at everything and also looking at, like, speaking of our like nerd things coming soon episode that was a couple episodes ago, I'm looking at what's coming up. Go like, well, this month we should subscribe to Netflix because this is what's coming up. And this month we should subscribe to this. I am going to keep the bare bones of the Hulu Disney Plus because we do
Mhm.
watch a lot of things on that, or like I'll just put movies on from Disney Plus or Hulu just while I'm like folding laundry or cleaning and stuff. But we're gonna get rid of all of it, and I'm creating a calendar of what we should subscribe to each
I
month
love that.
to watch
Yeah.
certain things, all the nerd things that we want to watch. So That's the thing too. And it's pretty significant to look at all the different streaming services and which ones house which. And do we need to watch this the month that comes out? And the next Dexter series means I'm gonna have to subscribe to this, and like we're gonna play with it instead of spending hundreds every month. We're gonna slim it down to like $15 a month for just the
Like
bare bones
dozens. Yeah.
of what we need. Yeah. Yeah. And
That's
that
great.
includes Sirius XM. I'm getting rid of Sirius XM too because my commute's like
Sure.
3 minutes long.
Yeah, it turns out we don't actually need that anymore.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I would love to do something like that and take that deep dive of knowing, well, we're going to need this one for 2 months, but we don't need it for the whole year, instead of kind of the way it is now, which is like we have all of these things. It's like, well, I'm sure something good is coming next month. We'll just keep it, or, not really thinking about it. I'm the same one. I'm very limited in what I do watch because I do watch so many live sports. Like that's kind of the viewing time I take. So anything extra out of that is minimal for me. But I do have the rest of my family, and I think they like the choice of being able to be like, oh, what should I watch tonight? And kind of look around and do all this stuff. But the idea of being more strategic with it and like more purposeful with it is very enticing. Very
I
enticing
mean, I don't think
indeed.
we watched Netflix except for when Stranger Things 5 came out.
Mm,
And then that kind of spawned, since we had opened Netflix for the first time in months. Sarah had found some like murder documentaries she watched and she exhausted those out. And now I can't recall the last thing we played on Netflix. I will say it was real fun opening up Paramount Plus because there's a bunch of stuff on there. I think I texted you saying, oh,
yeah.
this is where the state is. So I had the state running on in the
Right.
background when I was doing laundry the other day. So it is kind of fun to not open them for a long time and then see what they have and just have stuff playing. But yeah, it's getting too much. It's getting too overwhelming. So the strategy is what's really
Okay.
important for our money.
Yep. Paramount Plus is where all the Star Trek is too. So that's the thing. Like when I have like just one more excuse to get Paramount Plus, it's going to be for that thing. And then I'm going to binge so much Star Trek once I have it all at the tips of my fingers.
And they like either merged or are working with Showtime. So all the Showtime shows that I really love, like I've been rewatching Queer as Folk. Again, not sitting and rewatching it because I don't really have the time, but if I'm home cleaning, I'll put my headphones on in the morning and just play episodes and turn the television towards the kitchen while I'm like putting away the dishes and making breakfast and stuff. Like that's when I say I'm rewatching stuff, it's just playing on in the background. It's like Queer as Folk and the L Word and Dexter and all those Showtime shows I love are on the Paramount Plus app, which makes no sense to me. I can't keep track of who's doing what where. So
was Dead Like Me a Showtime show, or was that HBO?
it was a Showtime show, and it
Dead
could
Like
be on
Me
this
is
app too.
so freaking good.
Yeah.
Well, if you haven't got rid of Netflix yet, if you're like on your last month of Netflix, do go watch Arcane and Dragon Prince.
Arcane and Dragon Prince.
Arcane is quick because it's 2 short little seasons. Dragon Prince is like 7 big seasons, but like check out Arcane season 1 in those last few weeks you might have of Netflix. You won't regret it.
Well, and if I'm going to keep Disney Plus and Hulu, all the Marvel stuff that I'm behind on, Ahsoka,
and Star Wars,
all of the Star Wars stuff I'm behind, like I'll have access to that, and that'll at least narrow, like instead of having all these things to watch, now I'm going to have to watch these things. This is the only app service we have right now. So we'll see how it goes.
There you go. You'll get it done.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's your second thing?
So my second thing has been, my gosh, my second thing has been, no surprise, it has been miniature painting. And when I say, oh my gosh, it's because this year we talked about in the Nerd Goals show, is like, I'm going to keep track of my minis because what I want to do is make sure that I'm painting my backlog and not bringing in a bunch of new stuff. Well, it's going good and it's going bad because I learned that my new cool, super awesome 3D printer, I can print minis on it if they are like FDM designed minis, and they look great. And I'm having a real good time doing that. So I'm counting those as bringing new minis into the house because they did not exist. They were a spool of plastic, and now they're awesome minis that I have to paint to get ready for
That's
my
a good
games.
call.
January, February, I have brought in 2 miniatures of the month, which was also one of my goals, was to keep up on my miniatures.
Get every month. Yep.
Yeah. And I have printed 35 miniatures.
Gosh.
So
I did not think the number was going to be that high. I thought you were going to say like a dozen, and you tripled my expectations there. That's amazing.
Oh.
Woo!
However, I have painted 42 miniatures.
Hey, there you go. There you go.
So technically, I am still meeting the goal, and under or over the threshold.
You're still in the plus column by about 12.
by a few. So, yeah, 7. So, yeah, that's how that's going. But to be just like not even done with the third or the first quarter of the year yet and already have 30 something miniatures or 40 miniatures painted is pretty awesome. Then I mentioned a couple episodes ago, I think, that I was cranking through Star Wars minis from my giant backlog of that. I found a bunch of tutorials for that board game on YouTube of how to paint. And it's funny because those tutorials are like 11 years old. So like sometimes they're like, and then I'm going to use this paint. I'm like, they don't even make that paint anymore, bro. And it was before contrast paint, so it's all very old school and stuff.
Gosh.
So I'm not following them exactly, but just having them to give ideas of like, oh, that's supposed to be like a red and brown, and that's supposed to be a black, and that's supposed to be a this and whatever, like, has really helped me just be very quick because I'm not in that like analysis paralysis or that decision fatigue of like, okay, well, what color am I going to do and what am I going to use for this? It's like, no, if you want to paint your Han Solo, use these colors. And I'm like, oh yeah, I got colors like that. Bam. And I just like crank it out. I'm working on the next one ahead and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, accidentally destroying my idea of what I was going to do as far as painting a lot more than I was bringing into the house. I brought into the house, not with purchases. I have not spent a lot of money, but poof, like magic, there's 35 more miniatures in my house. I did the judgment. I just watched it with Annalise with this like that look on her, like look of disappointment on her face, just shaking her head.
It's disappointment. It's more like
not disappointment. Like you're not surprised.
No, I'm not surprised.
You're like,
I am not
of course,
surprised.
this is how this idiot got around his own goals to keep himself from spending money on miniatures.
I mean, no, I think it's pretty amazing because that has been one element you have been missing this entire time is painting, is being able to print miniatures. And now that you have a machine to do it, I had a suspicion once you started talking about this new machine over the last handful of episodes. I'm like, oh, it's going to change things.
It is, and it's fun because like I said, it's an FDM printer. We're not getting like the resin printed, like you can make whatever you want. They're very purposefully sculpted miniatures so that they're, the layers just build from the bottom up and there's no crazy overhangs and stuff. So I'm not getting dynamic, awesome miniatures. What I'm getting is old school looking miniatures, like from back in the 90s when I was a kid and the miniatures were very simply carved or sculpted. I mean, they look like that. And I love it, like the retro look of them and the nostalgia there. It also makes them very easy to paint because they're just kind of like blobby, whatever.
Right.
Having a real good time there. And that's how I've sabotaged myself for the year 2026.
You've created a goal within your goal, which we talked about, the 26 for 26 as well. So.
Right.
And you have the airbrush that's allowing you to just zip and get through them too.
Absolutely. That has been a big game changer too. I talked before, I didn't realize how it was actually going to make things so much quicker. Like even to the point where like, okay, when I do it, I'm like, okay, the weather's good. I like drag out a table. I drag out my box. I plug in the thing. I take out all the stuff. I got to do the dry brushing and I got to clean it and wash it, put away the table, put away the stuff like that. It's still way faster than it used to be with just rattle can, etc.
Well, I mean, at this rate, you did 365 minis a couple of years ago. I think that was like 2022, I think, or 2023. Yeah. You're on track to do that just organically right now.
We shall see. I mean, that would be pretty cool.
I mean,
I didn't think I would do that again. Yeah.
And you're not even thinking about it. You're kind of on track because to do 365 over the course of 12 months is what, about 25, 28 minis? You're not too far behind that, having done 42.
Yep.
That's wild. Yep. That's wild.
Well, see, that was the year that we had our big game in Vegas because what put it over the top was, it was two things. It was having to paint all of the villagers for Morsane, which was the Western town setting of that game. It was like, I wanted it to look like Beauty and the Beast when she's walking through town.
Which is
like,
what it did.
Yeah, just fill it with people to make it a living, breathing place. And then that was also the year that Hero Quest came out.
Right. And you had to do all that painting of all the...
And I was excited about painting that. And then I got COVID and had to stay home for like a week. And I just flew through that entire box.
COVID. Well, that takes us to thing one.
Here we are. Number
Here we
one.
are at thing one. This thing I talked about also a couple episodes ago about starting to take some of my collectibles and just selling them on eBay. And the nerdiest thing I did that week was looking one more time through some of those comic books that I had sold. And since then, I've just decided I'm gonna try to be consistent and try to post things. Maybe not every day, but nearly every day. Now I'm like going
Really?
through bookshelves and posting books. I'm going through my closet and posting clothes. I'm going through Sarah's closet and posting clothes she wants to get rid of, get through the garage of stuff. So I'm really upping that resale game and see. I am not at the point where I'm like going to the thrift stores and looking and searching things up. Like I don't have the time for that. But
Right.
I
Yeah.
I did find one thing. I'm going to show you. This was at a thrift store in Eugene and it was only a few dollars, but look at these sunglasses. I don't know if
Okay.
you can see, but there's like a Pepsi logo
All right.
on the outside of them. And here's the thing about these. I can't find anything like them on the internet. And I always get worried. Does that mean they're really rare? Or does that mean no one cares? And I don't know what to do with this pair of sunglasses. I'm gonna clean them and post them soon, but like
So you're like, oh, these look like they were probably from something, and you searched them up on eBay and looking at the internet to see what they're going for, and they're just not there.
so when we were in this thrift store with my stepson and my stepdaughter, which I'll talk a little bit more about later this episode, but we were in this thrift store and what thrift stores are starting to do is price themselves as if they are the resellers because they're done. I think they're tired of watching people buy stuff for 99 cents and then selling it for $50. So their prices are up. And so I'm smart enough to know like, well, look at this. They had a lot of really cool antiques in this one in Eugene and, but they're not priced where I could buy it and resell it. Right. They're
Sure.
priced so I could
A
buy
little
it
too
and
high.
sell it and maybe make $2, which isn't worth my
Yeah.
time. But I saw these glasses and there wasn't a price tag on them. So I went to the shop person. I'm like, what do you think? I'm like, I'm thinking, $2, $3. They're like, yeah, that sounds good. And then I just bought them because they looked cool. And for $2, $3, I'll take that gamble. And then I took a picture of them and did a item search. I did a Google image search. I did a search through multiple reselling platforms. I cannot find anything like them.
Huh. I wonder what they are.
It's crazy. There's no brand on them. There's a couple of numbers that I also looked up. They're in great condition. So that's what I'm spending some brain power on and getting nerdy on is doing this research to see what are these things worth.
Right.
And
Where
then
are they from?
yeah,
Are they
and
like,
who
oh, this is what we handed out at the Super Bowl halftime show in 1992? Like, you don't know.
right. Who knows? And for the condition they're in, they look like they've never been worn. They're a little bit greasy on the lenses because people have been touching them, but I'm just cleaned them. So like it's very odd. It's very strange. But that's the kind of thing I'm doing with spare time. It doesn't take a lot. There's a really great app that I found that helps me look up what things are going and it'll pool sale rates across multiple platforms and tell you the average and then it like edits the photos for me and I have it linked to my eBay. So all I do is post it on theirs and it posts on eBay for me. So we're gonna see. I'm gonna up this resale game and if it starts going well, my whole intention is maybe pay down a little bit of my debt with this extra few hours a week. So
That's
that's what I'm gonna
incredible.
try to do. That's what I
That's
try to do.
incredible. And I really am envious of that. I have so much stuff I need to get rid of. So hashtag not sponsored. Don't share what app you're using, but you could tell me after the show. So
Yeah, yeah.
maybe I can, I
I
can,
even like behind me, you might be able to see a corner of it right there. I got a little label printer, really cheap. It's Bluetooth. So I just purchase everything. Once it sells, I purchase the label through eBay and print it out. And I have a bunch of packing supplies just from like, because I've always lived
you're
away, I
in
always
it.
have to like mail Christmas presents and stuff. So I have a bunch of packing supplies. Like I'm not really spending a lot of money out of pocket to sell off my stuff. There's a stack of books right here behind me. I posted those yesterday and I just scan the barcode and it asks me for the condition and gives me an average price. I list it and boom, done. So like it took me 15 minutes to post like 6 books yesterday.
I got to get in on this. Also, we all become our parents, but you have decided to become Dan Garsky, and that's really funny.
We'll see. I don't know that I'll be like that dude he used to scour the and he might still do scour the garage sales and go garage sailing. I don't have the time to do all that, but if I see something that looks like it's resellable, I might start picking it up. But I need to sell what I have first before I allow myself to buy to sell. So, but I'm gonna re-up that game. Collector Zero. That's me.
Very cool. No, I'm into it. I'm serious. I need to make changes around here. If there's anything that could prevent me from getting those 365 minis, it's dedicating time to actually getting some stuff out of here so that I can buy more minis.
Or make more minis, you mean?
Or make more minis out of thin air like magic.
But like you said a few episodes ago when I talked about this, it is taking over my nerd room. So now we're going to have to clean out the garage again and create a space because I've been trying to play Final Girl and stuff. And my table is full of stuff that I've posted and it's now getting a little out there. So I've got to reconfigure my space a little bit. So that's what I'm doing.
It has been a prop and costume warehouse in my nerd room for the last
So
2
you've
months. It's just an absolute mess in here. Sometimes, like, I'm good on my background right now. I'm sure in like the last few episodes or maybe upcoming episodes, you'll see behind me there's like tables set up and just junk everywhere. Like, it is packed in. I can't walk that way or that way without having to.
You just have to scoot your chair back and then like get out.
Exactly. I had to scoot out and then like sidestep like a crab to the door.
That's funny.
So, we're used to that. Once we get through this cycle, maybe that'll take the place and we'll just start clearing some stuff out. But I'm
little.
envious. That sounds really, really good.
All right. What are you doing? What's the last thing you're going to mention today?
So I had mentioned how much Star Wars painting I'm doing and going through all that stuff. And so if Star Wars is on the painting table, then it makes a lot of sense that in the background, there should be Star Wars going on. So it's a perfect thing because I've seen everything, before to just have on and not really have to watch and pay attention to it. It can just kind of be on. You listen to the music, you listen to the dialogue, you glance up every once in a while. It's great. And I decided with the hype of the Mandalorian and Grogu movie coming out that I would rewatch Mandalorian. So over the last few weeks, I got through season 1, season 2, Book of Boba Fett. I'm about halfway through season 3. I'll do Ahsoka after that. Very interesting. Season 3, I didn't remember. Like, I remembered, like, oh, that's the one that's all about the Mandalorians and Bo-Katan back on Mandalore and like all that stuff. There's another whole like B plot in that season about like the space pirates. And it's a total soft launch for that Skeleton Crew show. Where I was like, oh, this kind of came out of nowhere, but now I'm watching, I'm like, oh, wait, no, those are the pirate guys from Skeleton Crew. I had like, it kind of just dawned on me. I'm like, oh, I never made that connection before. So anyway, I'm having a lot of fun watching Star Wars. That show was so cool. Obviously, it inspired so much of my like, revitalization of my love of Star Wars. It inspired our entire like Dungeons and Dragons campaign for 20 levels. And the music is so good. And it was just, what a very, very cool show. Definitely don't regret watching it again. And so Star Wars wise, it's been all Star Wars all the time. On the painting table, on the screen, in my ears.
On the brain.
The soundtrack's been going. Like, it's been a lot of fun.
That's fantastic. They did a really good job with The Mandalorian. They knew the tone. Was that Jon Favreau? Was that Favreau?
Yes.
That was,
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, they knew the tone and the style and how they even made it comic booky at the end. Like some of my favorite parts of those episodes are the artist drawing renders that they show on the screen in the credits. Like
another nerdy thing,
storyboards.
I went on, and of course, some nerd had a file folder of all of those wallpapers, and so that is the wallpaper on my computer. Every hour, it cycles through another one of those. Awesome! I'm looking at one right now with the Mandalorian in a prison cell and a big black droid with a huge machine gun looking at him.
That's amazing. That's good stuff. You should share that with me. I like it.
Yeah,
Star Wars.
We'll see about this movie. I'm excited.
If they keep it with the same tone, it should be fantastic. And I don't think that Pedro Pascal would do it if it was goofy.
I was going to say, when you talk about Jon Favreau and how good he did, good of a job he did, he also like injects himself into each season. Like, he's like that big burly Mandalorian with the heavy machine gun in the first season who like swoops in and saves him from all the bounty hunters. And then in the second season, they get in like a fight and he's like, the black saber should be mine. And he like tries to kill him and gets defeated. And then I just watched the episode of the third season where he makes the ultimate sacrifice.
Thank you, Jon Favreau.
Salute to a real one.
Salute to Mandalorian and salute to you. That's what we're doing, nerds. That's what we're up to. What are you doing? Let us know. Find us social media, podcast at nerdbestfriends.com.
That was a great catch up. All right. On Elise. What's the nerdiest thing you did this week?
All right, let's get into it. I alluded a little bit to this earlier in the episode, but we took a trip to Eugene to go see my stepkids. And so we took advantage of a long weekend and we drove up there. And what's nice about Eugene is it's got cool stuff and cool nerd things to do. And of course, we're hanging out with kids and all that good stuff. But I've done this just about every year. If the stepkids don't feel like getting in the car and riding to Portland and doing nerd things with me, I'll spend a day and go myself. And Sarah will stay back and hang out with the kids. So what I've done
I'll do my own nerd adventures, better nerd adventures with blackjack.
Well, I check in with them. I'm like, hey, I'm here to hang out with you guys as well. They're like, no, go ahead, go. No, go ahead and go. Like, they're like, I think it's cute because they get time with their mom, right? Just like by themselves without Sarah have to worry about whether or not I need to be entertained and, all that good stuff, right? So she takes them to do their favorite things while I get to go do my favorite things. And of course, Dr. Intern Joan lives in Portland or near Portland. So
did you guys meet up?
We did. So
Meet up.
Yeah, what I've done each time, because it's pretty equivalent to the cost of gas and to time, it's just a little bit longer, is I jump on the Amtrak train for like $50 round trip. So I go early in the morning. I think the train is like at 7 in the morning, and it's 2.5 hours versus about 2 hours driving. So it's not that much longer. And it only does like 2 stops between Eugene and Portland. So I take the Amtrak train up and everything is so walkable in Portland. I was like, I'll just take a bunch of lifts everywhere. And I didn't need to do that. I think I walked like 5 or 6 miles that day around downtown Portland. But I started by walking to Mox and looked at their sales and stuff. And then Dr. Intern Joan, her husband, and then she had a friend visiting that weekend, all met me for lunch. So we had lunch at Mox and hung out there. And I picked up some
games
things
while you were there.
I did. I'm so excited. I should have had them ready, but here, I'll grab them real quick. Hold on.
Yeah, do it.
I'm not going to be able to grab the book because it's on the bookshelf, but they had a good sale going on. So I got this game. It's called Scream Park, and it's a card-based solo play game where you are drawing your cards, and the cards, you have to create your like Halloween Horror Nights theme park out of the cards you have. And then you pull more cards to determine whether or not you get people to go to your theme park and you make any money and stuff like that. So it's like a pretty cool mix of like Roller Coaster Tycoon and a solo play card-based game. You can see it's still in the wrap. I haven't played it yet, but it was on sale, and it's like a 30-minute game that seems super simple. So I'm going to try this one soon. I can't because my table is full of eBay stuff right now. So that's that. And then, so when you and I were in Santa Clara and we were looking at Final Girl Series 4, how they didn't have the minis. I want the one that's based off of Scream. It's called Shriek, and none of the places had it. Well, Mox had it on the shelf. So I picked it up and I looked and I'm like, man, this game's so cool. Should I just get it and not wait? And then at the same time, the Kickstarter was coming out and I noticed it wasn't on the Kickstarter. Like there are 5 games and none of them are Shriek. So I was like, what is happening here?
A stretch goal?
It was, so they're not doing stretch goals this time. What's really interesting is like, they are doing daily releases for the length of the campaign of all these bonuses that everyone's automatically going to get. So if we go back to Series 3, there was a stretch goal to get a special feature film that was the Krampus, the North Pole Nightmares. And
I remember,
if they hit 2 million in sales or something like that, so everyone got Krampus. It was a special film, and they had a space for it in the box, but it wasn't part of the regular series. What I didn't pay attention to, for me, it was really confusing how they did the release for Series 4. I didn't pay attention to it. I just figured I'll just go all in when they do the Kickstarter Series 4 and deal with it then, right? Well, Shriek, based off of Scream, is a special feature film. So they have it as an add-on to Series 4. So I had to go back and add it on. So it's just like the Krampus game, that it's extra, right? So then I'm figuring this out, and then there's a really responsive Facebook game that the game creator, AJ, is on, and I'm like, I don't understand this. How do you get the minis? And they're like, hey, dummy, pay attention. They were nice. Everyone was nice about it. They're like, pay attention. Shriek has the minis in the box. And so I'm sitting eating an appetizer waiting for Dr. Intern Joan, and I go onto the Kickstarter page, and I noticed the price of the add-on was $35. The price in the store was $35. It's not going to save me any money to wait for the Kickstarter. So then with my little cheese and meat dip, my queso dip on the table, I like beelined back because there was only one of these on the shelf back, and I open the box, or I look at the box and I look on the back and it says includes 14 miniatures. I'm like, yeah, if I had just read through the whole thing, I would have seen. So I got Shriek.
So you have it. There it
I
is.
have it. Here's Final Girl. Here's Shriek. They have Mort is the name of the bad guy, the teenage dirtbag, and that's him right there. And I'm holding up the box for the audio. Those of you listening to the audio version. So I opened it up while I was waiting for Dr. Intern Joan. Here's a picture of Mort, the teenage
Yep.
dirtbag. So right, it's legally distinct. It's not
Mhm.
exactly Ghostface. What's interesting about this is it places it at a game con. So let me show you that board real quick. Because it's just so cool.
Absolutely.
The location is a convention,
Uh-huh.
a nerd
Okay.
convention, and they put Van Ryder Games right here, and then a bunch
Love
of
it. They got
fake
their booth.
game. And AJ, the creator's like, now you got to come to Gen Con and see all the references to all these companies. And I responded to him like, y'all sponsor me to schlep
Yeah.
Final Girl, and I am there.
Is that
We'll
a
see if
Nerd
you
Best
ever-
Friends
Yeah,
sponsorship?
yeah.
They're not going to do it. Look how excited you are. We're giving it away for free, Annalise. You'd be like, I would have talked
I will
about
come
how
do
cool
this
Final
live on the show.
Girl is, but I need a comped trip out to Gen Con.
So here's how they incorporated Scream that I find so fascinating about how they did this. The minis in here, I sent you some pictures. So they have the regular sized Final Girl and Bad Guy mini, Mort mini. Then they have a bunch of smaller ones that are characters who are people cosplaying as their old bad guys from
Yeah.
earlier series. And as you go along in playing with the big Scream reveal, you've got to collect these clues. And they have one of those little old school, like red lens, like the film that you would put on 3D machines. And then they have these cards that are all encoded. So you put the thing in front of it to decode what it's saying. So if you collect
Okay.
that clue, you can read what the clue is.
All right.
Because inevitably, Mort the bad guy is one of those cosplayers in costume. And you've
And then
got to
you
figure out
swap 'em
who he
out
is.
on the board once you figure it
Once
out.
you have
That's
the
so
big
cool.
reveal and you
All right, that's
figure
pretty
out
fun.
who it is, then I mean, it is so brilliant. I haven't played this game yet, but I had it all out on the table with my queso dip way off to the side, so I didn't get anything on it. And I'm looking through the cards have quotes from Scream. I mean, it is so brilliant. It is so good. I was nerding out over it when Dr. Intern Joan, her husband, and her friend came by, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't. Like, Scream had not come out yet. I was in the middle of rewatching them. Like, so, and like, I bought this, and now I'm waiting so I can prime the mini so I can play this. But I might just play it with the Meeples because I'm so excited. And
Don't
then
do it.
they had
It'll be
they had.
even better if you wait.
I mean,
good things come to those who
I
wait.
know. Oh, but I want to play it. And then they had the Return to Dark Tower RPG game, which we had seen on Kickstarter, and I didn't get it. It was 50% off. The other nerdiest thing I did this week was take that RPG and I read through it, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty close. The role playing game is pretty close to the actual game itself, with different things happening. So it uses some of the
Do
same.
you play the characters? I'm sure it has like a character building section where you build your own, or can you also be like, well, no, this cool like ranger guy that I play in the board game, I want to play that guy?
You can do that, and you can also use the game board. So it comes with like a folded up, paper game board. But I could just break out the neoprene board and use the already painted minis to play the RPG as well. So
that's interesting. It would play on like a big world map like that.
Yes, you play on the same world map. Yeah.
How interesting. Okay. That is new and different. That is a different way to do an RPG. Okay.
I thought they did a good job. So the nerdiest thing I did real quick, I've been talking about Mox the whole time, but so I walked to Mox. I had lunch with Dr. Intern Joan. I walked to Powell's. Obviously, got to do a trip to Powell's. I bought a couple books, and then I walked to Ground Control, which I know you've been to.
Yes.
I was just going to go in and play a couple of games. It was $6 all you can play. I played
what was the occasion?
It was Valentine's Day.
Nice.
Love it. I got there about 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and there was only like an hour and a half when they started walking around saying, if you're not 21, you got to go. Families have to go. So after some point in time, was just the crowd cut in half, but $6, like, okay, so it's easily $1.50 to $2 each play a pinball. I played every pinball machine that was on twice or more.
Incredible.
And then I played video games.
Awesome.
It was wild.
Awesome. Yeah, that
walked around, did all that. I love Ground Control. So I did my 3 favorite nerdy things. I went to a couple stores. I went to the Patagonia store. I went to the REI store because they tend to have better winter stuff than the stores here in Northern California. So I went to go check that out. And then I walked back to the train station and picked up a sandwich from a sandwich shop on my way back to the train station and took the train home while I was reading the Dark Tower RPG. And looking at the Scream game a little bit more, the Final Girl game. It just was a really cool nerd day that I had
Sounds like
in
a
Portland.
perfect day.
So every
Wow.
time I go to Eugene, I try to go see Dr. and Joan, and those are my spots. I just go check out those spots and then hit the train back to Eugene. And I got back about 9, hung out and watched a movie with my stepkids, and then went to bed. It was like perfect Valentine's
Love
Day.
to hear it. A perfect day. How
Yep.
fun.
Yep.
Very,
Yep.
very cool.
What's the nerdiest thing you did this week, Robin?
For me, might be quick. In the town where I live, they do these, these community events where they're trying to spur on local businesses, and they have Burger Week, they have Burrito Week, and they have Craft Beer Week. And
Yeah.
this last week was Burger Week, and so it's all the like local businesses. They do a discounted price, and they'll either put a discounted price on like their flagship burger, or they'll come up with like a fun new burger for Burger Week to participate. There are 41 participating restaurants in Burger Week.
It's every single year.
Wild. So
Wow.
we have been trying to find the ones that like we wouldn't have before, or haven't existed before, and that like have a little bit of a twist on them. So we had I had a banh mi burger with a fried egg on it.
Okay.
Was fantastic, definitely unique. Another unique one we found was a birria burger, where it
That
was
sounds
like a smash
good.
burger, but they put the birria on top, and they gave you the cup of the consomme to like dip it in. That one was pretty decadent. Another one we had was that keeps sticking in my mind is it was a surf and turf burger, where it was a cheeseburger and they just like shoved a bunch of like shrimp in there.
God.
And it was kind of spicy. It had like this like sriracha aioli kind of thing on it. You're making a face because I know you don't like shrimp, but I love shrimp. I'm like a whale. If I see shrimp, I just change course and go for it. So that one sticks out. You can't get over it. I love it.
Whether or not I like seafood, just the idea of like chunk shrimp in the middle of your ground beef just does not sound pleasant.
So imagine a smash
That's
burger.
just like
Open it up.
okay.
You put a bunch of shrimp on there, some arugula,
Okay,
some
so
sriracha.
okay. That's different than what I was imagining. I was imagining someone taking like some ground up shrimp with your ground up beef and mashing that together and cooking it.
No,
Yeah, that's why
no,
the
no.
face. Okay. That makes a little bit more sense. You're
I
putting
remember
it
a couple
in
years
between.
ago, one of my favorite ones was they did that, what you're talking about, where they mixed the ground chuck up with bacon, and oh my God,
Okay,
it was
so
so
now
good.
that's
And then it was a
delicious.
smash burger.
Yeah. Now that's different.
So that was the fun
Okay,
about
I get
Burger
it.
Week this time, is we went through the 41 and we're like, we're not going anywhere that has a cheeseburger. We're going to the ones that are like, what's your weird take on Burger Week?
Okay.
What new and exciting thing are you bringing to the party? So of course that means a spreadsheet, that means ratings,
Some planning,
and planning and all that kind of stuff. So we nerded out about Burger Week.
Burger Week. Did you have like a burger for lunch and dinner that week?
One day I did, yes. And it was a rough night.
And I was going to say, now it's time to detox. It's been all salads.
That's what
all
it
the
happens every
time.
time it's Burrito Week or it's Burger Week. After that, I'm like, it's, you know what? Never been
It's
easier to go on a
salad week.
diet. Yeah, exactly. It's salad month for the next foreseeable future.
Oh,
Absolutely.
that's fantastic. That's delicious. I love burgers.
Mm-hmm.
I miss Burger Week.
All right. Next week, we go back 30 years to talk nerdy about all things 1996. It's the year I graduated high school. It's my 30-year reunion. And that's probably not happening. I think you were supposed to read this
I
one.
was supposed to read that one, yeah, but it's it's fine. It's the year I graduated high school. It's my 30-year reunion. That's probably not happening because I've not heard anything about it yet.
Amazing how I just Ron Burgundy through that whole thing.
That was amazing.
Before you go, join us. Hit follow or subscribe so you don't miss what's next. If you felt the nerd love, drop us a 5-star rating and help more nerds find their people. Find us on social at NerdBestFriends or email podcast@nerdbestfriends.com. Grow the nerd herd, spread the geeky joy, and we'll see you next time. I'll add to that, don't forget, we have a Patreon and very importantly, our website, www.nerdbestfriends.com, where you can purchase a t-shirt or koozie for your
Get
nerdy
your
needs.
koozies. You want them.
We got to move these
You need
koozies
them.
on, Elise.
All right, nerds, what are you doing? Let us know. Find us on social media. Do all those things. Give us that rating. Tell your friends. And we'll see you next time.